Hello, good evening, welcome back to the channel, or good morning because we're here on a Sunday morning now, aren't we? Yeah, so get the admin out of the way first. If you enjoy this video, please like, please comment, please subscribe, please hit the little bell icon down in the corner. Let me know what you think of the video. Yeah, that's the admin out of the way. Now, let's get on with the video. This here is the Union Canal, built around about 1820 by Thomas Telford. Goes about 20 miles or so that way, you'll come to Edinburgh. Follow it 20 miles or so that way, you'll come to Falkirk, you'll get to the Falkirk Wheel, which was put there 20 years ago. But if you had been here 200 years ago, all this here would have been a loch. It would have been a big stretch of water with the canal going right across the middle of it on a causeway. As you can see, causeway and loch suspiciously missing now, because that's actually what we'll come to photograph tonight is these things, these hills here. They're called shale bings, and where they came from was the Philpstoun oil works was based just back here somewhere, and they were one of the places in West Lothian where they processed shale and turned it into oil, or extracted oil from the shale, I should say, by some fancy chemical process that was discovered over there in Bathgate, funnily enough. Anyway, that's beside the point. Yeah, and what they did, once they had processed the shale, they dumped it basically in the loch. They dumped a whole pile on this side of the loch, that's like the north side, and then when they had filled that in completely, they couldn't put it over the canal because there was boats going up and down all the time, but they dumped it over on the other side as well, creating these two huge, what we call bings, basically. So that is what we'll come here to photograph. The bings, obviously the oil industry is long gone, but the bings are still here. And although they were an eyesore back in the day when all the processed rocks and stones and whatnot were being put on them, now they're returned to nature, and they're actually industrial monuments. They're protected, believe it or not. So, yeah, we're going to photograph them. What I'm going to do first, just in case I don't manage to get up there, I know the route, but I've never actually been up, so I don't know what it's like up there to photograph. What I'll do first, I'll get a shot here, probably just this shot behind me looking down the canal towards the bridge, towards the bing. I'll get that shot, and then we'll head back along the canal and head up the bing, see what we can find. Okay, right, get myself set up. So I'm all set up now, looking down the canal, looking towards that wee bridge that you saw a minute ago. I'll just stick on the movie here. Right. And you'll see exactly what we're looking at here. Set up in portrait mode, as you can see. Just looking down the canal. Let me just adjust that ever so slightly. Whoops. There we go. Right, because the reason being we want it on the rule of thirds. So I've got the line of the fence thing here. That's a weir in actual fact. We've got that sitting on that rule of thirds over there. I've tried to get the bing itself over here, sitting on the other rule of thirds, and we've kind of got these plants here. I don't know what you call these things. Just put them into focus just for the hell of it right now. We've got them sitting over on this rule of thirds. I'm in F4, that's why everything's kind of out of focus and blurred, because the depth of field is really low for just now. But that's just as you can see it in the camera. What I'll do, obviously, is I shall turn my f-stop up like that, maybe up to about, that's F11 or so. I'll turn it up to that for taking the picture. I'll switch that off now. I suspect what I'll probably do is crop this one down to 4x5, miss out the top and the bottom of the picture. Anyway, yeah, that's that. I've described the picture, shown you what it is. Let me tell you about these things, by the way, just interrupting very, very briefly, and I'll show you these things. They are what they call kickstones, because they were there for the horses, because all the boats that were here originally were horse-drawn. Used to change the horses every 4 miles or so. In fact, if you remember, we were further down there back in December or something, at some of the stables, if you recall. I'll put a link up wherever, that corner, just so you can look at that other video on the canal. I think that was the last time I was down here, in fact. Anyway, yeah, these kickstones were there just so the horse knew when it was going along in the dark, it knew exactly where the edge of the canal was, stopped it falling in. Right, anyway, that was an aside. That's just a wee bit of kind of industrial history for you there. But yeah, I've got the picture all lined up. As I said, I'm at f11. That's given me an aperture priority at half a second exposure because it's relatively dark here. I'm at ISO 100. So that's that. I'll just grab the shot and then we'll move on. All right, 1, 2, 3, click. Right, do you remember I said back there that there was a bing over here and there was a bing over here and they weren't allowed to drop all the rubbish in the canal? Well, the way they managed that was with these beasties here. I often wondered what these were when I walked along the canal. I thought, what the earth is that thing for? Huge concrete block, basically. And there is another one on the other side, but it's higher up. And I couldn't figure it out. I thought maybe it's a railway line. No, it's not. What it was a conveyor belt. Huge, massive conveyor belt. I mean, this thing must be, what, the width of a railway track, really, a double railway. What, about maybe 4 or 5 metres wide, maybe, something like that. And there's another one, as I say, up in the trees up there somewhere. Conveyor belt would have gone from top of there up to there, dumped all the stuff, and they just keep loading it on over here. Right, I tell you what, that's steeper than it looks. I haven't actually climbed that high, maybe 30, 40 metres, something like that. It's not too bad, but it's steep. But the views are something else from here. Across this way, there's the rest of the bing. You can just see it from here, kind of curving round. There might even be a photo in that. I'll maybe take that in a second. But beyond that, we've got the Forth Bridges. We've got round this way. This is kind of the rest of West Lothian and Fife. I'm disappearing off the top of this camera there. Pentlands across there in the distance. Right round, and then there's the other bing over there, Pumperson Bing South, I think it's called. This is Pumperson Bing North, funnily enough, with the canal, as I said earlier, down the middle. Yeah, as I say, I think there might be a photograph in this. I'll set up, see what we can do, shall we? So that's us all set up for the first shot of the evening from up here. I'll stick on the movie and let you see once more what we're actually looking at. It is, as I pointed out, it's that mountain bing thing. You can see the huge rocks that I was pointing out here and here. They must have come up on a conveyor belt, I would imagine, from down here somewhere. The oil works, I'm guessing, was over here. I would need to look at an old map and figure out where exactly they were. But yeah, I would imagine this lot here looks like it's all been dumped by a conveyor belt just round this way here. Just hazarding, I guess. But anyway, back to the picture. What I'll do, if I lift that ever so slightly to about there-ish, we've got the horizon over here sitting on the rule of thirds. I've got the hill sitting on this intersection of the thirds here. The tree across on this intersection here. And we do kind of have, it's not a great leading line, but it's kind of leading round this way, round to the top of that hill there. And everything kind of leading up from the bottom here, just kind of boom up that way. Quite dynamic, quite like it. Yeah, so that's the shot. We are starting to get a wee bit, you probably can't see it in the shot as it is, but you'll see, I'll try and bring it out in post. There's a wee bit of purple in the sky, which may well look quite nice once I've actually got the finished picture out. So let me just switch that off for now. I'm going to switch that to ISO 100. Now that's given me, I'm in aperture priority. I always go to aperture priority if I don't need to go into manual. I'll only go into manual if I really need to. So that's that. Yes, as I say, focus on that distant bing there with the big stones and grab the shot. 1, 2, 3, click. Tell you what, it's like something out of 70s Doctor Who here. You kind of have to expect to see John Pertwee running about, being chased by guys in kind of rubber suits all going. Anyway, that's on my way. Well, I'm going to admit to being a wee bit kind of disappointed here. Not because of where I am, because there's loads of potential, just because of what was in my mind when I came up, because I've never been up here before, like I said, and I was kind of expecting this kind of desolate, kind of alien landscape, you know. But in fact, what we're going to get up here, by the looks of things, is woodland photography, which I really was not expecting. But these trees, these kind of twisty, gnarly trees here, are are quite interesting. So I was hoping to be able to find a vantage point with some creepy landscape in the front and we'd get that lovely sunset. But for one, I couldn't find a vantage point. And for two, I don't think we're going to get a sunset because it's clouded over. So we'll make do with getting these trees here just now, and I'll come back at some other point. Maybe on a misty day, misty morning, something like that, come up here and try and get some more of this kind of woodland photography. Okay, so what I've done is I've swapped over the lenses. We've got the 16mm, same thing as I did last week, the 16mm prime, which was on the wee movie camera over there, is now sitting on my A6400, and I've got my 16-70 on U. Okay, so, and that lets me go right down to f2.8 as well, which gives me a faster shutter speed, and also gives me more kind of lower depth of field, if you like. So I'll put on the movie here so you can see it like that. I go on a bit faster depth of field, but look at that. Let's switch to ISO auto. There we go. We can see it far better now. Okay, so yeah, I'm really focusing on this kind of gnarly tree here. Okay. What I might end up doing, I suspect this, like the other one that I had before, will be a 4x5. But in the meantime, there we go. Let me just, oops, auto, there we are. So same old story. We've got the rule of thirds sitting up on this tree here. Actually, let me just swing it round ever so slightly. I actually set this composition up with the other lens, then changed them over There, I think that'll do. Yeah, so we've got this intersection here on this branch. This rule of thumb is more or less on this tree across here. This tree over here. I quite like it. It's kind of in the way, but I quite like it. I might edit it out. I'll see. Like I say, a 4x5. So what tends to happen when I do that, in fact, is I end up losing all these carefully constructed rules of thirds that I go on about every single week. Anyway, that's that. Like I say, f2.8 so that all the background is all blurred, out of focus, and we've got the tree in the front in focus. Helps bring it in. Okay, so I'll switch that off. I shall switch myself back to ISO 100 again, like that, and I shall grab the shot. Oh no, I won't. I'm going to focus first. Focus on that tree, like that, and we shall grab the shot. 1, 2, 3, click. Right, that's the end of the vlog. If you've enjoyed it, just do the usual. Please like, please subscribe, please hit the little bell icon down in the corner across there. I would really appreciate, as I always say, some comments down below. Would be fantastic. If you enjoyed it, if you didn't enjoy it, whatever, just let me know. I really love to hear what it is that you have to say. Right, I'm going to pack up and I'm going to get home because it's starting to get dark now. Okay, right. Bye for now. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.